I spent 30 years fighting my own dirt. Heavy clay, rocks the size of eggs, and carrots that came out of the ground looking like something you'd throw back in the pond. Then one spring I gave up on a bed I'd fought for a decade, and I planted those same seeds in a big pot on the patio table instead. What came out of that pot was the best crop I'd grown in years. I never went back. And the first plant on this list is the one nobody believes. Carrots. I know. Everyone tells you carrots need deep open ground, and that's exactly backwards for most of us. A carrot doesn't need deep ground, it needs loose ground. The second that root hits a stone or a seam of packed clay, it forks, it stunts, it curls back on itself. That's not bad luck, that's physics. In a 12-inch deep pot filled with loose potting mix, there is nothing for that root to hit. It goes straight down, clean and sweet, every single time. And it costs you nothing but a bag of mix and a packet of seed. $2 of seed will fill a pot. Pull one in October, hold it up, and it looks like something out of a magazine, and you didn't move a single rock to get it. Before I go on, I want to know something. What's the one crop your soil has never let you grow properly? Put it in the comments. I read every one of them, and I've probably fought the same fight. Peppers. Peppers are a heat crop, and here's the part that gets missed. It isn't the air temperature that matters most, it's the soil temperature. Cold roots mean the flowers drop and you get leaves instead of fruit. Garden soil in spring is a cold, wet sponge. It takes weeks to warm. A dark pot sitting on a patio warms up in days. That's why the same variety, same seed packet, same week, will hand you fruit from a pot while the ones in the bed are still sulking. Put your pots against a south-facing wall and they get warmth off the bricks overnight too. That's free heat, and nobody charges you for it. Potatoes. This is the one that changed my whole season. Potatoes in the ground mean digging them out, and digging them out means a fork, a bent back, and half the crop stabbed through. In a container, you don't dig, you tip. You lay the container on its side, and the whole harvest rolls out at your feet, clean, whole, undamaged. And here's the entry version, the one you don't have to buy anything for. A 5-gallon bucket with a half-dozen holes drilled in the bottom. That's it. That is a legitimate potato container, and it will give you a real crop. One rule, keep the tubers covered as they grow. Any potato that catches sunlight turns green, and a green potato is bitter and shouldn't be eaten. So as the stems come up, add more mix. That's the whole job. Now, a warning that the videos on this stuff almost never give you, and it's the reason people quit on containers. Pots dry out. They dry out faster than ground, and in July they can dry out in a single afternoon. That's the real trade you're making, and I'd rather tell you now than let you find out in August with a dead plant. There are 3 fixes, and they all work. Go bigger. A big pot holds more water and swings less. Put an inch of mulch or straw on top of the mix, same as you would a bed, and group your pots together so they shade each other's sides. Do those 3 things, and watering becomes a 2-minute job with a can, not a chore. But if you plant one small pot in full sun and walk away for the weekend, that plant is gone. And it isn't the plant's fault. Rosemary. Rosemary doesn't want rich soil, and it does not want wet feet. It's a Mediterranean plant. It grew up in rock and gravel and dry heat. Nearly every rosemary I've ever seen die was drowned, not starved. Garden soil holds water. A pot with drainage holes lets it run straight through. And there's a second reason. Rosemary is only reliably hardy down to about zone 7. Colder than that, and a hard winter will take it out. In a pot, you carry it into a garage or a bright cold room for the worst of the winter and set it back out in spring. Same plant, year after year. Mine's been going for 11 years, and it's the size of a small dog. Mint. Everyone knows this one, and half the people who know it still plant it in a bed, and then they spend 3 summers regretting it. Mint doesn't spread by seed, it spreads underground by runners, and it will travel under a path and come up on the other side. In a pot, that fight simply doesn't exist. And here's the part people don't think about. Mint is one of the few things that's genuinely happy in shade. So a pot of mint is the answer to that dim corner by the back door where nothing else has ever worked. Strawberries. Strawberries in the ground sit on the soil, and that means slugs, rot, and mud. Off the ground, in a pot or a raised planter, the fruit hangs clear in the air, it stays clean, and it stays yours. Ask for the day-neutral types rather than the June-bearing ones, and you get fruit spread across the whole season instead of one glorious fortnight and then nothing. Halfway in, and if you're still here, do me one favor. Type the word pot in the comments. Sounds silly, It genuinely helps this video reach the next person who's fighting the same clay I was. Salad greens. Lettuce has one enemy and it's heat. Get lettuce too warm and it bolts, it shoots up a stalk, it turns bitter and it's finished. In the ground you can't do anything about that. A pot, you can move. In April it lives in full sun. In July you slide it into afternoon shade behind the shed, and you're still cutting leaves in August when everyone else's bed went bitter in June. Cut the outer leaves and leave the crown, and one sowing feeds you for weeks. Bush beans. Not the climbing kind, the bush kind. No poles, no netting, no reaching over your head. They're shallow-rooted, so they don't need a deep container, and they crop hard for a few solid weeks. Put a pot of bush beans on a table at the height of your hands, and you can pick a meal standing right there, upright, with a cup of coffee in the other hand. There's a small guide I put together with the exact pot sizes and setups I use, and the link is below if you want the shortcut instead of 10 years of trial and error. Eggplant. Same heat logic as the peppers, but there's a second reason I never grow it in the ground anymore. Flea beetles. They come up out of the soil and turn young eggplant leaves into lace before the plant can get going. Lift that plant onto a table in a pot, and the pressure drops away. You can also see what's happening. You're looking at the leaves at eye level instead of squinting down at a row. And the last one is the one I'd argue is the strongest case on the whole list. Blueberries. Blueberries need acid soil, properly acid. Somewhere around 4.5 to 5.5 on the pH scale. Almost nobody's garden soil is anywhere near that. Most of us sit around 6.5 or 7. And you can pour amendments into a bed for years and never truly hold it there, because the surrounding soil keeps pulling it back. In a pot, you fill it once with an ericaceous mix and you're simply done. The pot is its own little world. Feed it rainwater rather than hard tap water where you can, and put a second variety next to it. Most types will fruit on their own, but two together will give you a noticeably bigger crop. A blueberry bush in a pot on a patio, waist height, picking into a bowl. Nobody's soil ever gave anybody that. So look at what that list actually is. 10 crops, and not one of them is a compromise. Not one of them is the sad version you settle for because you don't have proper ground. Every one of them is genuinely better in a container than it would be in the average backyard. Cleaner, earlier, easier, and standing at a table instead of down on the dirt. That's not gardening small, that's gardening smart. I put the pot sizes, the mixes, and the setup I actually use into a small guide. It's the shortcut version of the 10 years it took me to work this out. The link's in the description below. Next time I want to talk about pot size, because it's the one thing on this list that quietly ruins more container crops than anything else, and almost nobody tells you the number. If you've ever had a plant that looked fine and never produced, that's the video for you. Real gardening. For real hands. For people who have no intention of quitting.